So I propose we talk about maybe private side chains. Like
Private side chains.
we talked about other things that side chains can do. What about just like providing privacy?
That's right. And
Hmm.
so I think the concept is kind of unclear, right? Because private can mean uh, the data is not public. It can mean anonymous. It can be, so there
Mhm.
are different models of that, right? So
And
maybe
different
we can
levels,
start
yeah.
with that. Sorry, what was I saying?
No, I said in different levels of privacy. So like we we think we like people try to think of Bitcoin as private, and it's not really, right? So it's the transactions are completely public. The part that kind of resembles privacy is these pseudonym anonymous addresses that are not attached to your identity. It's very difficult to keep your address distinct from your identity, as you know, especially
Correct.
since you are interacting with the world, and there are people gobbling up data on the internet. So every time you put in an address, every time you send to your address from Coinbase,
Yeah.
all of that stuff is known. And the presumption is when you send from Coinbase to your own wallet, that's your wallet. And so that there's a link made between you and your known account on Coinbase. So there's no anonymity. No, well, there's perceived anonymity there, but it's not really. It doesn't hold very long,
Yeah.
and there's certainly no privacy. That's certainly public, right? It's
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
ledger, available to everybody.
So I
So
think I
then,
think that's the difference,
yeah,
right? When we have an address on a street, it may be our private residence. We may hide it away, we may put it under a rock, but somebody knows that rock is there. If I have a transaction on the blockchain, people can see that that transaction is there, but they don't know me until I share with Neeks that I just moved some crypto, and he, or I could say I paid Neeks some crypto, and he pairs that same address. This is especially susceptible to be abused for public information on accounts-based blockchains, because you usually have just a single address as opposed to many. But the minute I pay Neegs, Neegs can then share that address with Rob and say that's Voice's address. So that would be pseudonymous. It is private. It's private until I share it, but then it depends upon that person that I shared with, what information they can derive from that, and then who they share it with. So your example is perfect. Coinbase, I withdraw from Coinbase my Litecoin, it goes to my Litecoin wallet, my Litecoin address. Now, I've done that a couple of times. They now know that the voice has this other address, it's some other location. If I send Litecoin from that account to Coinbase, they've now confirmed that those two things are paired together. There is no anonymity ever on layer ones that are Bitcoin based blockchains, unless they're anonymous blockchains like Monero. Um, but it's completely, totally highlighted now because I did a transaction from and to that same account that I have on Coinbase, and they now know who I am.
Yeah, so to summarize, I think that it's important to realize that there are several degrees of privacy or privacy enhancing features. And the thing is that when you start one chain, or when you look at the industry and what chains are currently offering, it's not really, you don't have an a la carte privacy, right? It has a set of features, and you can't really go around that. And if you get to blockchain that don't have a public ledger, that have the privacy that is too far, and Voice, you were mentioning some business case, uh,
Yeah,
those blockchains they're banned because obviously they have plagued with accusations of criminal activities, and
exactly.
it is a major issue. To take one example, um, of course Monero is the most obvious, but if you take Litecoin and then you take its Mimblewimble mechanism or feature,
Protocol.
um,
Mhm.
basically any address that is Mimblewimble is not accepted on any exchange, right? You can use your normal Litecoin address, but whenever it goes to Mimblewimble, that's over. We'll never go back to exchanges.